fabulous at the top and I'm social distance ready at the bottom. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Yeah, and I just thought I would come and say hello. It's nice to see you guys. Thank you so much for coming to my channel. My name is Gloria. If you're new to the channel, I know I have new subscribers. Thank you so much for subscribing. Oh my gosh, like I said, so much has happened, right? Since the last vlog, which I will link below, where I went to 1440 Multiversity with the Knight Hennessy family, community, students. Basically got back and just kind of got back into the swing of the quarter, finishing off the second quarter. I was teaching as part of, well, not teaching, but I was a course development assistant for a history course, a South African history course, which was very interesting. It was an interesting experience to see how one can teach about South Africa and Africa to American students who had varying levels of knowledge about the country and the continent, and they had perceptions and misperceptions and opinions, and it was just interesting to see the dynamics of that class. And it was a very creatively designed course because it pulled on many ways of teaching. So it was a seminar course with like a film series component, and we watched a lot of films that represented different issues that arose during the transition from apartheid into democratic South Africa, as well as like a seminar where we just discussed a whole bunch of issues, including the history of the country and different key issues. And yeah, so I was really busy with that during the quarter, and it took up a lot of my time. I'm not even gonna lie, it took up a lot of my time, but I'm really grateful for the opportunity. I'm grateful to the professor who hired me and was just very welcoming and very patient, because the pedagogy in the US is different than the pedagogy in Africa and probably in the UK and in Europe. We just, I think, have a different way of teaching and assessment, which I don't know if I would say it's better necessarily. It's different, and yeah, it's different. So there was a bit of a learning curve in that sense, but other than that, it was a really interesting experience. Yeah, so I was teaching. This quarter was heavy on writing, and that's actually what I want to talk about today, is the writing process. I just wanted to close that door because it was driving me crazy. But yeah, so talking about writing my thesis, which is the big part, the big chunk of my master's program, is producing a thesis at the end of the year, which is not far from now. Actually, it's about 2 months from now. And yeah, producing a thesis that may or may not be used for a PhD application, actually, as well as could probably be the basis of like future publications, and other work in the future. And so it's been a lot of pressure. It was a really busy quarter because I was TAing, and because I was I had courses that I was taking. Thankfully, I took a huge chunk of my classes right at the beginning of the quarter, and they finished quite early, and so I had a good 3-4 weeks where all I was doing was writing, finishing off 1 or 2 courses or 2 classes, and the TA or CDA position that I had taken up. So that made it a little bit easier, but nonetheless it was still very busy, and it was a very challenging quarter for me, and that's what I want to talk about today, is how you know, I think a lot of people have perceptions about what it means to be an academic, what it means to pursue a advanced degree, and it can be very, very stressful, and it is very, very stressful. And I definitely found this quarter to, as I said, you know, mentally challenging, emotionally challenging as well. And so that's the first thing I want to discuss today, is the importance of taking care of yourself and taking care of your mental and emotional health during your studies. It is, as I've mentioned in previous videos, when you're an advanced degree student, a lot of the times you are going into adulthood or already an adult with different and yet multiple responsibilities and obligations to yourself, as well as your wider community, your family, your friends, your job sometimes if you have one, as well as your schoolwork. And all of these people and things are pulling you in different directions, and it can be extremely exhausting and extremely stressful. And for me, that definitely has been the case. Like I said, it's really been a struggle this year. For the first time in a while, I felt that I wasn't equipped to cope with the things that I was dealing with mentally. And so the law school here amazingly has 2 psychologists in the law school building, and you can book a session with them for 30 minutes just to, you know, talk about whatever you need. And if you want more sessions, then you can book more sessions with them, or if they feel that, you know, you need more than that, or whatever your specific needs are, they are basically there to design a, I don't want to say a program, but just design solutions for you and provide you with the mental health support that you need in the law school. And it's funny because you know how, like, at the beginning of the year during orientation, they tell you about all of these services that are available at the law school or at whatever school you're at, and there's so much information and you're just like, oh, whatever, you know what I mean? A lot of the time as students, we don't use the services that the schools provide. So it was interesting to come here and hear that those same issues are here at, you know, one of the best universities in the world as well. Like, there is a lack of support for students with mental health issues, graduate students as well as undergraduate students. So people are making use of this service, but they are not available enough for us, for all of us, to be able to use them as and when we would like to. I forgot to mention that Stanford gives us 10 free sessions as well of visits to a psychologist. So I think that kind of service, medical service, really expensive if you're doing it outside, if you're doing it anywhere else, and especially if you don't have health insurance. As an international student, we're required to have health insurance, so that's not necessarily a problem that I face. However, it is, you know, still expensive to pay for health insurance, especially in the US. And still, you know, 10 sessions may not be enough. Sometimes it would usually come in waves, right? Most of the time it would come in the week that I have to submit my thesis. I'm gonna get to this later, but the week that I have to submit my thesis is just so stressful. Deadlines are looming a lot of the time for whatever reason. I also have other commitments, you know, scholarship community commitments, or like friend commitments, or like family is calling, or, you know, and the people just don't understand, and you just need, I would just be freaking out. Like, my anxiety would be through the roof. I would not be sleeping, which that has never been an issue. Like, I used to say, I was one of those people who, if I close my eyes, you know, it would take me 10, 15, maybe 20 minutes, but I would be out and would not have an issue. I would sleep during the day, I would sleep at night. Like, I didn't have an issue sleeping, and in fact, sleeping was previously how I coped with stress before. Like, if I have a really stressful day or was in the middle of a really stressful period, how I would calm down is like take a nap, calm my nerves, and then wake up, and usually I could kind of get on with the rest of my day. Probably not a healthy way to cope, but that was the way that I coped. There were other methods, other ways that I kind of was able to go through the motions before, and I've been in university for a really long time, right? Like 8 years. I like, university is my career at this point, essentially, and so I'm fully acquainted with academic stress. But for whatever reason, being here, experiencing these big changes in my life, as well as being in school, has just had a completely different and unique effect on me, I think, and my mental health and my emotions. And so as a result of that, I was like, you know what, I need to speak to someone because, as I said, it would come in waves. During that time, I would just be completely stressed, have the inability to function, not be able to sleep, just really anxious. My jaws would be clenched very tight. A lot of the time I would be near tears, just exhausted, and then I would submit the thesis, and then it would just be like, whew, like a wave would hit me, and you know, I would just feel so much better, so much lighter. And the more I'm getting better, the more I'm relaxing, the more I'm becoming more myself, the more I feel like dressing up to go to school, and like, you know, being on social media, talking to the people I love, and yeah, the more I would just be my more joyful self. Is just as I'm getting to that point, another deadline is coming, and so this would happen like probably every 2 or 3 weeks. Yeah, every 2 or 3 weeks I would go from, you know, high stress levels to very low stress levels, and then it peaks again at the most, you know, the busiest times throughout the academic year, or the, you know, throughout the quarter. The tools that I was using before, or the ways in which I would cope before, which is either just to be like, you know what, we don't have time right now, we don't have time to just wallow, you know what I mean, you don't have time to be stressed, just get it, just do it. That's how I used to kind of cope, right? I'm one of those people who's just like, listen, it is what it is, life sucks, come on, keep it pushing. And for a while I could do that, like basically up until now, that's how I've been functioning, and it's worked. Especially when you're in the law school, it becomes like very much a coping mechanism, because it's a fast pace, it's, you know, there's no mercy and there's just no time. It's very competitive as well. It's designed to be stressful. It's designed to prepare you for, you know, future stress, basically. And so because of that, those are my tools to cope. However, they had stopped working. I found it to be really helpful, and really just having somebody to talk to, having someone to like give me tools to help me with sleep and to help me with anxiety and stress management, some of which I have been implementing. I also took a class which was for credit actually, but was centered around mental health and psychological development within the legal field, and kind of giving us the tools to tackle the issues we would face regarding our mental health as people who are in and entering into the legal profession. And that really helped as well. All of that to say, law school is hard, even at advanced degree level, and particularly graduate school it's a very difficult, and it's a different type of stress, because the trajectory and the path to success is not as straightforward. You know, at law school, when you're doing your first law degree, you know that you have to get through your courses, you have to pass your courses, and you know what I mean, you have that goal in mind. But for us, it's like, okay, you have a thesis, but the process of writing is so difficult and so challenging that that process alone is very stressful. But in addition to that, there's the questions of what happens after my thesis, right? Teaching jobs are not easy to come by, and that's already something that's in the back of your mind, like, okay, I'm trying to set up my academic career so that I can get a tenured position at some point. And that's something that I think is constantly on our minds as people who are in academia or have chosen an academic path, especially if you come from a community or a background where seeking mental health support is not common in your culture, or it's just not something that you have done or anyone you know has done. I have done it, and I think destigmatizing depression, anxiety, and mental health issues is really, really important for our community, as Black people, as Africans, and for people who are in the academic world, for law students especially. If you look at the statistics for drug abuse, as well as cases of severe, moderate to severe anxiety and depression, are very, very high. I think the law school, out of all the schools, the professional schools, has the highest rates of moderate to severe anxiety and depression, which is really something to think about, and I think something that the legal field needs to, and legal education needs to kind of rethink and analyze to see where are we going wrong, and how we are teaching people about the legal profession, and how we are equipping our students to deal with mental health issues. That said, I just want to talk briefly about writing and how writing like I have writer's block, like serious writer's block, and how my writer's block manifests, because I've noticed a trend. Again, like I said, I've been in university for a long time, and after a while you start to notice kind of like your habits. And first of all, imposter syndrome is real out here. I'm very, very self-conscious about my writing. I feel like I don't write at the level that I want to write. I know what I want to say. I know how to introduce complex concepts, but I feel like I'm not writing at that same level. Do you know what I mean? Like, I feel like the English fails me, if that makes sense. And I'm a first language, like I'm fluent in English, right? And I don't know, I've been trying to read more as well in order to get the vocabulary that I'm looking for, the flow, the words, all of that stuff, but I'm just not, I don't know, I'm just not getting there. I think I have a tendency to, after I receive feedback, I will receive feedback like, this has potential, it's great, it's good, but you should change this and this, you need to move this here, you need to, so my advisors will give me good feedback on the whole. They will say, this has a lot of potential, it's shaping up well, but you need to change this and this. I interpret that to mean, throw the whole thing away, this is crap, you have failed, deregister now. That's how that filters. I don't know why, but I think I'm a lot harder on myself than the people who are actually reading my work and the people who are critiquing my work. But as I said, you want to submit really good quality work, and I really want to do that, and I don't want to let anyone down, and most certainly I don't want to let myself down. But I don't know, I just feel like I'm not writing at the level that I want to write. I'm not producing the quality of work that I want, and if you don't tell me that this is brilliant the first time around, I'm devastated. And so it takes me like a week to recover from the comments that I get, which are not even bad comments. Like, I don't actually have bad comments. I haven't heard like, this is rubbish at all. I've heard on the whole like good constructive criticism, but I kind of take it personally, and that can often, almost always, stop me from being able to keep on writing my thesis. So how I've gotten over that, and this is what I wanted to share, how I've always kind of gotten over a writing slump was handwriting. can you guys even see this? Handwriting my notes. So this next chapter, I've submitted my literature review, I've submitted my findings. I am now on the analysis part of my thesis, and for the last week, handwriting my notes has been a really great way for me to get over that slump and to make sure that I'm writing and to make sure that I kind of, I don't know, just break through the writer's block. It's like free form. Right now I do have the luxury of kind of like writing in a diary, basically just writing what I think. I don't know if it's perfect, it's probably not, but letting go of perfection, being able to scribble, being able to cancel, I don't know, there's something that allows me to kind of get through that writer's block with this method. Another really good method that I use is what we call a shut up and write at my old university, but essentially it's a writing kind of like a writing workshop where you sit for a set amount of time, 30 minutes, maybe longer if you're able to and need to sit for longer, no distractions, already prepared, and just write for 30 minutes straight. And that is a really good way for you to kind of get through that writer's block as well, and just make sure you're putting words down on the paper. Most likely it's not rubbish, and at least that's what I'm telling myself. But at least most likely you will get something that you'll be able to keep and that you'll be able to use for, you know, your chapters, so that you're not wasting time, because I'm on such a tight time crunch right now. I have about 14 days to pretty much finish this whole thesis, so the pressure is definitely on, only because I'm pushing myself, because I have a closer personal deadline, not because the deadline is at 15 days, but my own personal deadline is a lot closer, and so I have to push myself really hard, and ideally I would like feedback before I even reach that personal deadline. And yeah, so that's why I'm really pushing and really trying to sit down and just do the work, just sit down for a, you know, certain period of time and just kind of get through it. It's hard, but it really does help. And I don't know, I just thought I would come here and share my experiences with writing my thesis, the mental toll that it takes on you, because I think as academics we live in our heads for a lot of it. That's why I think a lot of people describe the academic experience and, you know, academics in general as being very like kind of like hermits, and you know, they describe it as a lonely process, and in a lot of ways it is, because the question that you're going to be answering is hopefully a novel question, and you are going to be contributing to knowledge on a subject in a way that has not been contributed to before. And in doing so, because of the novelty, because of the uniqueness of your question, it means that only you alone know what's at stake in answering that question, and only you know exactly where to go and what to ask and what conversations need to be had. And sometimes that involves having the conversations alone a lot of the time. And you know, it's very difficult and it's very lonely and it's very stressful, and you live in your head a lot. And as I said, this is the space that I'm at. That's why I decided to make this video, because I really am struggling. And I'm just in a space in my head where I can't break through. And you know, with us being quarantined at home and like everybody's stuck in the house, there's no outlets for you know, ways that you can kind of get out, take a walk, or go out with friends, have a conversation with, like, as a classroom full of people about your research, in the same way that you would be if, you know, it was under normal circumstances, right? Like, that kind of social interaction is very much limited right now, and it's probably going to be for a long time. And so it's harder now, I think, to get out of your head. especially with everything that's going on. And so I just wanted to say that for anyone who's going through that kind of process right now as an academic, right, like between writing my thesis and all of the stuff that I was dealing with before and this, listen, like it's a lot to deal with. It's a lot to deal with mentally, it's a lot to deal with emotionally, and being far away from home. I'm far away from home, I'm far away from family. But even then, you know, sometimes talking to family can be difficult. Talking to friends and people who know you can be difficult because they don't understand really what it is that you are experiencing. Or sometimes even if they do, you just want someone who is not going to judge you, has no expectations of you. Sometimes you don't want to be encouraged. Sometimes you just want somebody to shut up and listen, you know. Or you don't want somebody to project, or you don't want somebody to like kick you into gear, or you know, there's value in having someone else you can talk to. Obviously, because we are under quarantine right now, it's difficult for us to even see our therapists if you have them, but I just want to say for the future, because this is going to be over eventually, and you know, I still want to encourage people to take care of their mental health at all times. It's particularly important for times like these, right, to have a healthy mind and a healthy body. But you know, as academics, as students, as law students in particular, we, I think, have a very unique academic experience, and it is particularly stressful and dangerous for our well-being. And yeah, so that is my advice for writing and for staying sane as a law student. Also, like my just quick update, I guess, of what I've been up to in the last month, 2 months or so, and I will see you guys later. I have been rambling for a long time. Once again, thank you so much for watching my channel. Thank you to all the new subbies and everybody who's subscribed. And yeah, I don't know when this is going to go up. If there is going to be a vlog before this, I'll have to check to see if I have any content. Yeah. Oh, I also forgot to say that my birthday happened during all of this. It wasn't under quarantine, but it ended up being really nice because I had a social distance surprise party where, you know, some friends Skyped in. Some friends, at the time we didn't have a, you know, lockdown order, but you know, people were practicing social distancing, and so a few friends came over. We were all standing 6 feet away from each other, and it was really nice. It was really sweet that my flatmate organized for that. Thank you, Carmen. We're going to get through this. Please stay home. Please do your part. I know it's very frustrating. If you're one of those people who's like a problem solver and who, like, you want to save the world but you feel very limited in terms of how you can help right now, I think the least you can do is stay home and know that you are playing your part, and encourage other people that you know to stay home and to conscientize them and make sure that, you know, you're washing your hands, you are you know, keeping safe, practicing good hygiene and all of that stuff. That is, I think, as a community, of humans trying to protect ourselves and each other, it's the least we can do. So my thoughts are particularly with people in Zimbabwe, people in Africa whose economies don't permit social distancing, and so even when they do it, because the government has required them to do it, it is at a huge financial cost for a lot of people, the majority of people actually, and also whose healthcare systems are not equipped for, you know, the onslaught that this pandemic might cause on the nation. Yeah, and so my thoughts are with people back home. But with that said, I will see you guys in the next video. Thank you so much for watching. Comment, like, and subscribe, and hit the notification bell down below for the latest uploads. Bye. Mwah. Guys, look how long my hair. Can we talk about how long my hair is in the girl? Sis, listen. Ah. Okay, anyway.